So today we're going to compare the FX3 versus the C70 as a follow-up to my last video where I wasn't really sure what I was going to do going forward with weddings. This isn't going to be scientific. It's going to be kind of based on my experience shooting weddings with both and kind of a quick review of the quality. As you can kind of see by the empty hand here, I don't have a C70 anymore. I sold it, so that's a quick spoiler alert on kind of what I'm going to do going forward. So I'm going to play a really quick clip of a finished video I made from a wedding where I shot with the C70 and the FX3. I'll tell you on the other side which one is which, but if you can kind of guess before they're over, pause the video, put it in the comments, and we'll see who's right.
Close your eyes, you can feel it coming. Close your eyes.
All right, so I should say actually on both of those and all weddings I filmed, I used the best native glass I could find for each. So the C70 had the RF mount 24 to 70 2.8, and then the FX3 had the, I'm filming on it now on my other FX3, but had the G Master 50 1.4, I believe it is, the expensive, the best 50 that Sony makes. So that's, and then I mixed in also the 24. So that's kind of what I used on each, kind of giving them both the best chance as far as autofocus colors, all that stuff with their best native lenses. So we're going to talk about three things. Overall image quality, basically can I get a good picture, a good image to the brides and grooms that hire me? Are they going to think one is drastically better than the other? How easy it is to get the shot, convenience, that sort of thing. Obviously the FX3, that's the biggest pro just right off the bat is the size. You know, how do you get the best shot with each camera? Does one allow you to get more shots than the other? All this stuff that goes into it, internal NDs, all that stuff. And then lastly, we'll talk about the file sizes and codecs. All right, so first, talk about overall image quality. Those two videos I showed, the first video number one, that was the Canon. Video number two, the Sony. But I think the overall image quality, very, very close. I think I'd give a slight edge to the Canon, mostly because I've shot more with it and I've been impressed with it across the board. I think if I shoot with the Sony in similar weddings, colors, all that stuff, it would probably be 99% of the same. I guess I would give the winner of the overall image quality, like I said, to the Canon. Not by much. It's a 50-50. It's a toss-up. I think the skin tones on the Canon are, you know, notoriously good. I think with the Sony, especially the new color science, Cinetone, if you use that and everything, you can get them to look the same. So I think it's pretty much a toss-up. If you're worried about the best image quality, is one going to look drastically better than the other? It's not. So this is probably the category that won me over with the Sony, and I've seen other wedding videographers, filmmakers, switching for the same reason, and that's how easy it is to get the shot / size of the camera, all that kind of stuff. Obviously on the Canon you have the built-in ND filters, which are amazing. It did allow me to expose better on some shots where you're going from inside to outside and you don't have time to, you know, change anything or stop the recording. Obviously a win for the Canon with the built-in NDs. That's, you don't even get that on the Sony. Autofocus, Canon, the C70 does have autofocus. It is not as good as the DSLRs and the mirror, or I should say, it's not as good as the mirrorless cameras from what I've seen on YouTube. It's good, it works. It's not as quick as, it's definitely not as quick as the Sony. The autofocus from the one wedding I shot with this was phenomenal. And with the button on the side of the lens, you could turn it off and manual focus if you needed to. So focus I would give to the Sony. However, I don't rely on it enough for it to really make a difference. But if you're worried about that, Sony FX3 versus the C70, FX3 definitely has a better autofocus. The size, I mean, the size is everything. One of these is probably a third of the C70. Actually what I did was I sold the C70, bought I kept both FX3s and then bought an A7 IV just because I can have 3 cameras for pretty much the size of one Canon. And it's just, even just the body alone, so small and so light. You put on a native lens and you're gonna have the smallest setup that you can possibly want with 10-bit, all the good codecs that the Sony has. So the weight is the #1 reason that I sold my C70 and I'm going full FX3. I think, and also the IBIS inside and the weight is gonna allow me probably not to need a gimbal. I'll use a gimbal for some detailed, shots and some scene setting wide stuff, but I'm not gonna use it for most of the day. And with the size and the IBIS, this is going to work great. The battery life, I would give, it's good on both, but with the Canon, you have way more options. You can get the narrow batteries, the wider batteries, and I could go all day on 3 batteries if I used like 1 tall one and 2 small ones. They do last, pretty good, but you need to probably bring 5 to 6, and you got to switch them out more often. Either way, it's not a problem like with the Blackmagic Pockets or anything where you need to like figure out a solution. Just charge them up the night before, you're good to go. Now the file sizes and the codecs that obviously when I started filming weddings, I was just worried about the best file types, the best codecs, the best picture quality with Blackmagic. That didn't last too long once I was rigging all those up. Now with both these cameras, the FX3 and the Canon C70, you're gonna get great codecs, great file sizes. The Canon, however, I don't think I heard this talked about too much or seen it on many other videos, has 2K image resolution that you can do. And I would shoot a whole wedding in 2K 60, 2K 24, and then the SD card from the C70 would be under 75 gigabytes. The FX3 does only have 4K and 1080, so there's no in between with 2K, which would be awesome if it did. So let's sum it up. Obviously, I sold my C70 and the RF lens for way over the price of the FX3. I actually sold it and bought a A7 IV, like I said, so that I could have a 3-camera kit on weddings going forward, where it's 2 FX3s and A7 IV, and from the looks of it, they'll match perfectly. S-Log 3, 10-bit, and all of them. Image quality. So if you're deciding between the two, you can't lose. C70 is going to be heavier, depending on what lens you get. It might be a lot heavier. Your back might hurt more at the end of the day. Feet might hurt more at the end of the day. And I'm looking forward to this year carrying around a small kit, small camera, small lens, being able to be nimble, get all the shots I can think of without having to worry about busting out the gimbal or switching a lens to something lighter just because it was heavy, trying to save weight. With this, you can one hand, you're not gonna, with the C70, I remember trying to one hand some things and it would get a little heavy and hurt the shoulder and my back, especially after 8, 10, 12 hours. With this, I'm confident I can pretty much bring one backpack, small drone, the Air 2S, 2 or 3 cameras, and some small tripods and be perfectly nimble and perfectly mobile all day long. Hopefully allows me to get a lot more shots than I would before. Obviously, no built-in ND filters on this C70. That's a huge win for that. I would either just crank the shutter speed or I'll bring ND filters, and if I have time, I'll set them up properly. But if all else fails, we will just crank the shutter speed on this quickly. Also, no shutter angle, which I really wish this had. Only shutter speed. C70 had shutter angle, which was so convenient. So that's it. That is my unscientific FX3 versus C70 follow-up. Can't go wrong. I'm going FX3 for the size. Definitely comment and subscribe if you like this video. If you have any other questions, I'm sure I missed some things that are, that maybe you have questions on if you're in the same situation as me deciding between the two. Hopefully we have some more cool stuff coming this year. I'm working on a few reviews for some audio gear and some more behind the scenes vlog type stuff. So just really trying to get through the backlog from this crazy year that 2021 was, have more time to dedicate to this channel, make some more videos. Let me know what you like, comment, subscribe. Thanks guys.